Opening the 4,000-year-old coffin, the perfect object inside, stunned the entire archaeological team. In July 2018, Dr. Hugh Willmott, who was overseeing an Anglo-Saxon burial excavation in Lincolnshire, northeastern England, was approached by a local conservation official who told him about a potentially more exciting find. While working at the Tetney Golf Club, a local golf course, workers were using a large excavator to dig a small pond when they unexpectedly unearthed a rare prehistoric coffin containing the skeleton of a man. Specifically, the workers at Tetney Golf Club in England had accidentally discovered a 4,000-year-old waterlogged coffin containing the remains of a man who archaeologists determined to have been of high social status. When Dr. Willmott, an archaeologist and senior lecturer in European historical archaeology at the University of Sheffield, UK, arrived at the golf course the next day, he found what he described as a mess. 12 feet underground, the team discovered a waterlogged burial site and an exposed coffin that had been broken into pieces. Dr. Willmott said he quickly realized that he and his team of archaeologists would need to act fast and carry out a rescue and recovery operation to save the coffin from further damage. That summer was very hot. The coffin wood, once exposed to air, would decompose very quickly. The 4,000-year-old coffin had only days left, he said. The wooden coffin, which was 10 feet long and 3 feet wide, contained the remains of a man buried with an axe. Archaeologists determined that the coffin was made by hollowing out the trunk of an oak tree. The deceased was then lined with a layer of yew or juniper leaves before being sealed with the remaining part of the oak trunk. These practices were reserved for high-status individuals in the Bronze Age society. Hugh Willmott, the archaeologist from the University of Sheffield, who led the research team, said, "The organic materials were well preserved in the damp, airless conditions inside the hollow tree trunk. This could tell us about the types of trees chosen to cushion the body and even the time of year this man was buried." This coffin is one of about 65 known to have been found in England. After a year in cold storage, it was transferred to the York Archaeological Trust, where it continues to be preserved. Along with the remains, there was a perfectly preserved axe with a stone blade and wooden handle. When the archaeologists saw the axe inside the 4,000-year-old coffin, they stood in stunned silence for a long time. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The axe was an extremely rare find, especially since its wooden handle had survived 4,000 years of burial. It is one of only 12 known to have been discovered in England, and archaeologists believe it was more of a symbol of power than a practical tool. Explaining why the coffin was waterlogged, yet its contents remained so well preserved, experts explained that rising sea levels and coastal flooding had eventually covered the burial mound and grave with a deep layer of silt, coupled with the undeniable durability of oak wood, which helped preserve it. The ancient coffin and axe were placed in cold storage to keep them stable, while archaeologists worked to learn as much as possible before the conservation process began, a process that could slightly alter the appearance of the artifacts. Dr. Willmott further explained that the burial showed that the man was an important figure in his community. Making such a heavy wooden coffin was a complex task. The construction of the burial mound also required the effort of many people, not just family members. The axe was likely a ceremonial object, a symbol of power, he said. Historic England invested nearly $70,000, about $97,000, in this conservation effort. The coffin was transported to the York Archaeological Trust, where the conservation process is expected to take an additional 2 years, due to the size and weight of the coffin. Ian Panter, head of the York Archaeological Trust, said that conservationists were still deciding whether to attempt to reassemble the pieces of the coffin. He explained that one end of the coffin, measuring 8 feet long and weighing half a ton, was particularly difficult to handle. The entire coffin was about 10 feet long and 3 feet wide. The 4,000-year-old coffin and axe will eventually be displayed at the collection, a museum of art and archaeology in Lincolnshire, not far from the golf course. The remaining bones of the man will be carefully handled, but are unlikely to be displayed. The man's bones revealed that 5 feet 7 inches tall, quite tall for his time, and was likely in his late 30s or early 40s at the time of death. The elaborate burial suggests this was a society with a hierarchy centered around certain individuals. What do you think? This is truly an exciting discovery, isn't it? But this isn't all I want to show you. Over the years, archaeologists and scientists around the world have made many other fascinating discoveries like this. So, what are they? Join me in the next part of this video to find out. The 7 human skeletons reveal terrible secrets from 5,700 years ago. Recently, in December 2024, archaeologists discovered nearly 100 pieces of human bones in a prehistoric house at Kosinivka, an archaeological site located about 115 miles south of Kiev, Ukraine. Kosinivka preserves the remains of a large prehistoric settlement created by the agricultural Cucuteni Tripilia societies, who lived in areas that are now Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine from 4800 to 3000 BCE. These settlements included public buildings and family homes, many of which had been intentionally set on fire when people left. However, the discovery of human bones inside one of the burned houses at Kosinivka took archaeologists by surprise, prompting a new detailed investigation to understand what had happened. Upon closer inspection of the skeletons, archaeologists found the remains of at least 7 people, 2 children, a teenager, and 4 adults. 4 of the skeletons were found inside the heavily damaged and burned house, while the remaining 3 were not burned and were found outside the house. Researchers discovered that 2 of the adults had suffered severe head trauma just before death, creating a forensic mystery that has lasted 5,700 years. To investigate this unsolved case, the research team used radiocarbon dating to determine that 6 people, likely a family, probably died between 3690 and 3620 BCE, while the 7th person, a non-burned adult, died about 130 years later, after the house had burned and been abandoned. The team then carefully examined broken bone samples and discoloration patterns, finding that the bones had been charred while still fresh. With evidence of the fire, the researchers hypothesized that 3 of the individuals may have died inside the burning house, while others may have succumbed to smoke inhalation or carbon monoxide poisoning and died outside the house. However, this analysis did not reveal additional information about the cause of the head trauma. The researchers wrote that the isolated skull fragments might have been part of a deliberate burial ritual, and the entire skeleton collection could be the result of a complex, multi-stage burial tradition. Unfortunately, despite leaving behind a significant amount of archaeological evidence, much remains unknown about how these people treated the dead. Jordan Karsten, an archaeologist at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, stated that the theory of intentional house burning seems plausible, as the individuals found at Kosinivka may have been killed during a raid, and their house was set on fire during the conflict. He added, "Previous explanations for the burned Cucuteni Tripilia houses focused on the destruction of ceremonial houses through intentional burning, but these results suggest that conflict between groups may better fit the new data. Economically, burning a house full of food, pottery, tools, and ceremonial items doesn't make sense, and the Cucuteni Tripilia lived in a forested steppe region near pastoralist nomadic groups. Instead of destroying their own homes, could these neighboring groups have done so? This is a difficult question to explain, and it remains a mystery that challenges scientists' understanding to this day." The mysterious Temple of Aliens. This is the Kailasa Temple in Maharashtra, India. One of the greatest achievements in rock-cut architecture in India, the Kailasa Temple is carved from a single mountain face, standing 107 feet above the ground. Despite the fact that the rock slopes downward from the back of the temple to the front, archaeologists have always believed it was carved from a single piece of rock. The Kailasa Temple is the 16th temple in the 34-temple complex at the Ellora Caves. According to the legend of the Marathi people in Maharashtra, the ruling king fell gravely ill, and the queen prayed to the god Shiva to cure him. The queen promised to build a temple in honor of Shiva and vowed to fast until the temple was completed, and Shiva granted her request. An architect named Kailasa then promised the queen that he could complete the temple within 1 week so she wouldn't have to fast for too long and risk her health. Kailasa began carving the temple from the top of the mountain downwards. From a massive rock, after completion, it turned into an intricately carved temple. Experts believe the temple was made from megalithic stone. The dominant architectural style is Dravidian. The Kailasa Temple has a square pyramidal shape with meticulously carved details, roughly 3 stories high. The temple includes a courtyard with a horseshoe-shaped floor plan and a Gopuram tower at the entrance. On both sides of the main temple are columns standing 98 feet tall, adorned with carvings of many gods. The temple courtyard measures 269 feet by 151 feet. Inside the courtyard is a central shrine dedicated to Shiva, the supreme god symbolizing both creation and destruction. In front of the main temple is a statue of Nandi, the bull, who serves as Shiva's mount. Inside this structure, there are columns, windows, and several rooms. At the center of the main shrine stands a giant stone linga. The gods carved to the left of the entrance are said to be followers of Shiva, while those on the right are followers of Vishnu, the god of protection, who is also one of the three principal gods of Hinduism, alongside Shiva and Brahman. Next to Shiva are two large columns and sculptures depicting stories related to this god. There are also elephant sculptures at the base, making the temple appear as though it is being supported on the backs of elephants. All the details are incredibly refined. Historical records simply state that the technique used to create the Kailasa temple was rock cutting, and according to archaeologists' research, to complete this project, the ancients needed to carve and transport 400,000 tons of earth and stone. If built manually, the workers would have needed up to 20 years to complete the task. This means they would have had to work continuously for 12 hours a day, processing 11 tons of earth and stone every hour. To this day, no one can explain how the ancients could have separated massive stones from a mountain over 98 feet high with such perfect precision. As a result, many rumors suggest that the Kailasa temple was constructed by extraterrestrials. However, archaeologists still believe that the Kailasa temple was built by King Rashtrakuta Krishnapalswas around 756 to 773 CE, with some elements completed later. Additionally, there is an interesting anecdote related to this temple. The Muslim emperor Aurangzeb hired thousands of workers to destroy the temple. In 1682, he ordered the temple to be leveled. Yet, despite bringing in thousands of workers, they could not cause significant damage to the temple for 3 years. They were only able to break a few statues, while the temple itself remained largely intact. In the end, Emperor Aurangzeb was forced to abandon this impossible task. To this day, Hindus believe that the temple is protected by divine forces. The Kailasa temple is not only an architectural marvel, but also a place that reflects the artistic and philosophical richness of ancient Indian civilization. In particular, one of the temple's stone panels is inscribed with the epic Ramayana. It is estimated that around 32 million Sanskrit carving details at the site remain untranslated. If you have the opportunity, you should visit this temple to witness the majestic beauty it holds. The exquisitely carved Tang Dynasty coffin in China. One day, the farmer grabbed his shovel and went out to a vegetable field near his home to dig the pit as planned. The soil in the field, having been frequently worked, was quite loose, making the digging process easy and fast. Suddenly, the shovel struck something that made a loud, sharp noise. Upon closer inspection, the farmer saw that it was a large pebble. Thinking nothing of it, he continued his work. However, as he dug deeper, he found more and more pebbles. The layer of pebbles seemed to be as deep as an adult person. Beneath the pebbles, he discovered a layer of bricks. He reached down, picking up the bricks, and found intricate, unusual patterns carved on them. At this point, he sensed that something unusual was going on. Knowing that Zhangjiakou was a place rich in history and culture, the farmer dared not dig any deeper and quickly reported his discovery to the city's Cultural Heritage Management Center. Soon after, an archaeological team from Zhangjiakou arrived with various excavation tools. Although it was already dark, the experts worked diligently. After a while, they were certain that they were about to uncover an ancient tomb. The pebbles and bricks were used to protect the tomb. After the archaeological team removed the topsoil, they discovered that the tomb appeared to have no other protective measures besides the layer of pebbles and bricks. The team was overjoyed, knowing that this could save them a great deal of time, effort, and money in excavating the tomb. After some time, the archaeologists successfully removed the surrounding bricks, revealing a magnificent ancient tomb. The experts concluded that the tomb did not have a mausoleum door or an entry passage. When they opened the coffin, they discovered that it contained very few burial items, just the cremated remains of the tomb's owner and 22 coins. Based on these coins, the experts determined that the tomb dated back to the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 AD. At this point, a seasoned archaeologist made a decision that surprised everyone. He said, "Rebury the coffin and wait for 13 more years. The treasure will appear." He explained that upon inspecting the coffin, he noticed that the wood had merged with the soil underneath. With the technology and tools available at the time, it would be difficult to guarantee a safe excavation. The coffin would be damaged during the process of bringing it to the surface. To preserve this millennia-old cultural heritage, the team decided to restore the tomb to its original state by placing the pebbles and bricks back around the coffin to protect it. They patiently waited for 13 more years, hoping that advancements in technology would allow them to safely recover the coffin and bring it to the city's museum for deeper study and restoration. In 1985, the team returned to the tomb with modern equipment. They successfully retrieved the coffin without causing any damage. Today, the coffin is recognized by the Chinese government as a National Cultural Relic, Level 3, and is carefully preserved by experts. Despite extensive research, the identity of the tomb's owner remains unclear. However, the coffin itself tells a rare story about the craftsmanship of Tang Dynasty artisans in ancient China, showing their remarkable skill in intricately carving the coffin with exquisite, detailed, and beautiful images. Therefore, this Tang Dynasty cultural relic has become a treasure with immense artistic and archaeological value. The giant fragrant wood, more expensive than diamonds. According to the workers, when the excavator was digging the trench, it suddenly encountered a tremendous resistance. No matter how hard the machine tried, it couldn't move the soil beneath. Suspecting that the excavator had hit a rock, the workers quickly gathered to check and discovered that the obstacle was a large, very hard piece of black wood. To continue with their work, the team decided to excavate the wood, but the deeper they dug, the larger the wood seemed to be. It took 13 days for them to finally bring the wood to the surface. Its size left everyone astonished. One worker said, "It's a tree with a diameter of about 8 feet and a length of approximately 115 feet. Despite its massive size, it was excavated in relatively intact condition." According to the project manager, after the giant wood was discovered at the construction site, the area was immediately cordoned off, and the discovery was reported to the project owner and other relevant parties for inspection. To avoid disrupting the construction work, and with the approval of the management, the team used a large towing vehicle to transport the wood to a temporary storage warehouse while waiting for experts to arrive for evaluation. Lin Huawei, a local official, speculated that the wood might be an ancient cypress tree over 5,000 years old. He expressed hope that the sacred tree could be preserved as a feng shui treasure for the local people. However, experts identified the tree as agar wood, weighing 26 tons, rich in oil, and emitting a strong fragrance. Based on the market price of agar wood at the time, the wood was worth at least 1 billion RMB. Yang Guochen, the president of the local ecology association, explained that the area had once been a basin formed by erosion and flooding thousands of years ago, possibly even from the Ice Age. Most of the giant trees found here were ancient trees that had been submerged and buried by natural causes such as heavy rain, earthquakes, lightning, and floods. Some of these trees may have been carried by floodwaters from elsewhere before being buried here. In nature, agar wood is a rare and valuable type of wood formed from the Aquilaria tree. The transformation of the wood particles occurs due to pathological factors such as cracking, the intrusion of fungi, and other natural processes over time. When the tree becomes infected in a particular area, it produces resin to heal the wound, acting as a natural defense mechanism against the disease, thus creating agar wood. Not all Aquilaria trees contain agar wood. Only those affected by disease will have agar wood in their core. For centuries, agar wood has been highly prized for its fragrance and numerous medicinal properties. As a result, this type of wood is highly sought after. Besides its rarity, this is also why agar wood commands such a high price in Asian markets and around the world. 2 forgotten cities at an altitude of over 6,500 feet. Forgotten for centuries, 2 cities located nearly 3 miles apart were hidden beneath the lush grasslands of the mountains in Uzbekistan. These cities, named Tashbulak and Tugunbulak, were once important crossroads along the ancient Silk Road but were mysteriously abandoned. Now, for the first time, archaeologists have mapped these cities, a task that reveals their role as major hubs along the ancient trade route. Using LiDAR technology mounted on drones, researchers were able to uncover structures obscured by vegetation. The images they captured show 2 large urban areas with unexpected scale, including watchtowers, fortresses, complexes, squares, and walkways capable of supporting tens of thousands of people. The research team mapped the 2 cities in 2022, conducting 22 drone flights equipped with LiDAR. According to the study, this marks the first time this technology has been used in this region. The LiDAR sensor measures the time each laser pulse takes to reflect back, using this information to create a three-dimensional map of the environment below. This technique has revolutionized the study of human history and culture, particularly useful in discovering archaeological sites in the Amazon rainforest and ancient Maya ruins in Central America. Anthropologist Michael Frachetti, the lead author of the study, noted that discovering these densely populated medieval cities at an altitude of over 6,500 feet above sea level is quite astonishing. Life in these settlements must have been incredibly difficult, especially during the winter months. This is a region inhabited by nomadic herders, and for most people, it is on the periphery. Today, only 3% of the world's population lives at or above this altitude, mostly in the Tibetan Plateau and the Andes mountain range. The study also highlights that ancient settlements in high-altitude regions, such as Machu Picchu in Peru, are considered unusual due to the harsh living conditions at such heights. The archaeological team has started preliminary excavations at these two sites to uncover who built these mysterious cities and why they were abandoned. Frachetti and his colleagues believe these newly discovered high-altitude cities are too large to have simply been trading posts or waypoints along the Silk Road. It's likely that these were settlements built to exploit iron ore beneath the ground. The research team hopes that future excavations will reveal who lived here and who founded the cities. Frachetti also remarked, "This entire region had a valuable commodity at the time, iron, and it also had many juniper forests, which could provide fuel for smelting." Sylvia, a researcher not involved in the study, commented that high-altitude urban sites are extremely rare in the archaeological record because of the many challenges involved in establishing large communities in mountainous areas. The discovery of Tashbulaq and Tugunbulaq forces us to rethink the ideal locations for founding a city. The study, based on LiDAR data, shows that Tugunbulaq covered an area of about 0.46 square miles, with evidence of more than 300 unique architectural structures, ranging from 323 to 46,200 square feet. In contrast, Tashbulaq spanned an area of about 0.03 to 0.04 square miles. Although smaller, Tashbulaq features a fortress consisting of a high mound surrounded by dense architecture and earthen fortifications. Researchers believe Tashbulaq was inhabited from the 6th to the 11th centuries, while Tugunbulaq was inhabited from the 8th to the 11th centuries. The reasons behind the abandonment of these settlements remain unclear. However, these stories are expected to become clearer as research progresses, with no signs indicating that the cities were leveled, burned, or attacked. This remains an active area of study with the hope that the mysteries surrounding these sites will soon be unraveled. Ancient tomb, containing 46 glowing coffins. In late December 2006, some residents of Shuiku, Jinghan County, Jiangxi Province, China, used explosives to blast rocks in order to construct a highway. During the process, they heard strange sounds coming from deep beneath the ground. The intermittent and irregular explosions led them to suspect that there were abnormal hollow chambers below the surface. Shortly after hearing the explosions, local residents quickly gathered to inspect the area where the rocks had been blasted and discovered a deep hole, approximately 43 feet deep. Inside the hole was a massive ancient tomb containing many precious relics. Furthermore, beneath the tomb, they discovered 46 identical coffins buried with the tomb's occupant. Faced with this unexpected situation, the workers reported it to the authorities and archaeologists. As a result, a team from the National Cultural Heritage Administration quickly arrived at the site. Experts concluded that the tomb, covering an area of about 1,722 square feet, was built approximately 2,500 years ago. This discovery shocked the archaeological community, as finding such a large number of ancient coffins, dating back thousands of years, is extremely rare. Even more remarkable, when the coffins were opened, archaeologists found 46 mysteriously glowing female skeletons. These women, aged between 16 and 20 when they died, were buried without clothing and in a special posture. Surrounding them were various objects related to the profession of sewing and weaving. Archaeologists noted that the skeletons were unusual, as they were surrounded by crystals. These transparent crystals, resembling glass, emitted a greenish glow like jade when in the dark, with the largest crystal measuring up to 3.35 inches. No expert present at the site had ever encountered such a phenomenon before. The discovered tomb could be the final resting place of King Jong-Wu of the state of Zhou, a small feudal state during China's Xia to Western Zhou dynasties. Based on the number of skeletons found, the burial methods, and the age of the women, it can be inferred that they were sacrificed according to the custom of suti, a form of death accompanying the ruler. To ensure that they would be clothed and live in luxury in the afterlife, King Jong-Wu ordered the royal seamstresses to die with him. The concubines were forced to eat poison-laced watermelon. It is possible that the glowing effect of the bodies is due to compounds that formed crystals that emit light in the coffins, including ferric phosphate and some other fluorescent substances that have yet to be identified. After 2,500 years, these toxins may have transformed into substances that fluoresce at the time of discovery. Although there are hypotheses, the phenomenon of the glowing skeletons remains scientifically unexplained, making it a mystery in the field of archaeology. Chinese treasure found in ancient tomb, ravaged by thieves. Not long ago, Beijing Normal University in China began expanding its student dormitory area. During construction, workers unexpectedly discovered a massive vaulted structure with a large amount of broken bricks mixed in the soil. The first reaction of the witnesses was, "There's a tomb underground." They quickly reported it to the university authorities, who immediately contacted the Beijing Cultural Relics Bureau and patiently waited for an archaeological team to arrive for excavation. After some intense work, the archaeologists concluded that the ancient tomb had been heavily looted. Inside this large tomb, there were 5 smaller tombs. 4 of them had been completely raided of their burial items. To learn more about the owners of the tombs, the archaeologists continued their work. After finding the main entrance to the tomb, they discovered a stele inscribed with the words Manchu on the front and Chinese characters on the back. Upon further examination of this stele, the archaeologists found that the tomb's occupant was the daughter of a high-ranking official during the reign of Emperor Kangxi. The girl, who had been seriously ill, passed away at the age of 7. When the archaeologists thought about the high status of this child and the many burial objects in the tomb that had been looted by grave robbers, they were very upset. However, just as the excavation was about to be completed, the archaeologists made a surprising discovery. The walls of the tomb began to emit a hollow sound. The team members gently tapped on the walls and discovered that there might be a small secret compartment inside. After opening it, they found 55 high-value burial items placed there. Each of these items was of exceptional quality, including famous Dukai porcelain and jade wine bottles from Hettian. This discovery made the archaeologists shout with joy and silently thank the grave robbers, who, dazzled by the gold and silver, had failed to notice this hidden compartment. Among the priceless cultural treasures unearthed, the most notable was a Qing Dynasty Dukai porcelain bowl, a gift from Emperor Kangxi to the girl during the Lantern Festival, the 15th day of the 8th lunar month in the Chinese calendar. According to the archaeologists, Dukai porcelain is a type of porcelain decorated with blue and white designs beneath the glaze, which is then glazed and fired. Additional patterns are painted on top of the glaze and fired again. This technique requires great skill and precision from the craftsmen and originated during the Qing Dynasty. As a result, the Qing Dynasty Dukai bowl that Emperor Kangxi gave to the young girl, daughter of a high-ranking Qing official, is extremely rare and valuable. In addition to the Dukai porcelain, the burial items included Hittian jade, also known as Xinjiang jade, which is renowned worldwide in China to this day. The mining of Hettian jade has been documented since the Western Han Dynasty. Hettian jade comes in various colors and is categorized by different names, such as green jade, yellow jade, white jade, purple jade, and red jade. Among them, white jade is the most precious. White jade, also known as Yangji jade, is characterized by its ivory white color, smooth texture, and transparency, free of impurities. It is considered one of the highest quality varieties of Hettian jade. This is why white jade is used to create imperial seals and other important items for emperors. It is regarded as a symbol of noble quality and the power of those who hold it. Sea monster hiding in 500-year-old shipwreck. While diving near Stora Ekön Island in Sweden to search for artifacts from the Gribshunden shipwreck, Professor Johan Rönnby and his colleagues from the Blekinge Museum in Sweden encountered something unexpected. They heard a sound similar to a dog growling coming from inside the ship. Upon entering to investigate, they were startled to discover a strange sea creature lurking inside the ship's hull. After a thorough examination, they found that the creature resembled a dog, and the growling sound they heard was coming from it. As a result, they decided to salvage the ship for further research. The Gribshunden was a royal ship that had been lying undisturbed at the bottom of the Baltic Sea for 500 years. This ship belonged to King John of Denmark and is believed to have sunk in 1495 after it caught fire while traveling from Copenhagen to Kalmar on Sweden's eastern coast. The sea monster was made of wood and was likely used as a scarecrow to ward off evil spirits. The growling sound might have been a design feature intended to produce that noise. Scientists believe that this sea monster didn't exist in any medieval European cultures, but it resembled artifacts from an ancient temple in the Amazon rainforest. According to archaeologists, this sea monster is known as the Gribshunden. The term Gribshunden literally means griffin hound, but it could also refer to a specific breed of dog. The name was mentioned in a letter by King John in 1486, in which he wrote, "In navi nostra Griffone." This means, in Griffone, and linguistically, Griffone can be seen as a variant of grips or griffus, griffin, A. Aegis, 2015, Percentus Kammerer, June 27. This explains the presence of the sea monster aboard the ship. In addition to the wooden sea monster, many medieval weapons, armor, and other artifacts were also found aboard the ship. The Gribshunden wreck was rediscovered by divers in the 1960s and 1970s. The wreck lies at a depth of about 33 feet off the coast of Stora Ekon Island. The site is very complex, and much of the shipwreck remains buried in sediment. From 2000 to 2012, maritime archaeologists recovered several artifacts during excavations. After a few years of interruption, a new research initiative was launched in 2019, and explorations continued in 2020 and 2021. Before the ship was fully salvaged, archaeologists Mikael Larsson and Brendan Foley from Lund University discovered more than 3,000 new artifacts in containers on the ship that previous expeditions had missed. These artifacts included various spices such as ginger, saffron, pepper, mustard, cloves, fennel, and nutmeg. The team also found many fruits, including black raspberries, red raspberries, grapes, and dried flax seeds, which were likely used as snacks. These spices and fruits were exceptionally well preserved, thanks to the microenvironment created by the shipwreck once it sank to the sea floor. When the Gribshunden sank, it brought with it drifting seaweed, leading to thick layers of seasonal algae deposits. As the algae decomposed, it created oxygen-deprived pockets, which contributed to the remarkable preservation of the plant materials. Archaeologists believe that the Gribshunden is truly a treasure trove, as no other shipwreck from that era has been discovered before. It has the potential to offer valuable insights into the golden age of exploration and the maritime mysteries of the age of Columbus and Vasco da Gama. Lost language from the ruins of the Hittite Empire. Excavations at the ancient city of Boğazköy Hattusha in Turkey have recently revealed a tablet containing an unknown Indo-European language. The translation and identification of this language will take time, as no one has seen it before. However, experts confirm that this language belongs to the Anatolian branch of the Indo-European family and is likely the language of the region of Kalaşma, an ancient city located in what is now northwestern Turkey. Boğazköy Hattusha, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was once the capital of the Hittite Empire during the Late Bronze Age, from around 1650 to 1200 BC. Excavations at this site have been ongoing for more than a century, conducted by the German Archaeological Institute. According to the University of Würzburg, since the excavation of this site began, researchers have found nearly 30,000 clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform script, which have provided the archaeological community with a wealth of information about the history, society, economy, and religious traditions of the Hittites and their neighbors. Most of the texts found on the clay tablets at this site are written in Hittite, the oldest known Indo-European language. However, this year's excavation has uncovered hymns written in this previously unknown language. Andreas Schachner, the head of this year's excavation, stated, "The new language is written in cuneiform," adding, "This is the writing system the Hittites used. The text is part of a longer document that begins in Hittite writing. According to current scientific research, we know that there are over 3 billion people today who speak Indo-European languages, a language family believed to have a common prehistoric ancestor. The clay tablets found at Boğazköy Hattusha are all inscribed in cuneiform, the oldest known writing system, developed by the ancient Sumerians in Mesopotamia more than 5,000 years ago. Cuneiform was used to write several languages of the ancient world, including Sumerian, Babylonian, Old Persian, and now the language known as Kalasmaic. The Hittite Empire reached its peak in the 14th century BC under King Shupoluliumoth I. The Hittite Empire covered the Anatolian Peninsula, which forms much of modern-day Turkey and part of Upper Mesopotamia. It was a powerful empire during the Late Bronze Age until it was conquered by the Assyrian Empire. The Hittites may have developed the earliest known constitutional monarchy, and they are frequently mentioned in the Bible as living among the ancient Israelites. Archaeologists have made several exciting discoveries from the Hittite Empire. Just last month, archaeologists uncovered incredibly well-preserved remains of 2 individuals from the Hittite Empire's Bronze Age. These remains were found in western Turkey at Tavşanlı Mound, known as the heart of western Anatolia. Researchers also found traces of skin and brain tissue on the remains, preserved through the carbonization process that occurred when the bodies were exposed to extremely high temperatures. They believe these 2 individuals were incinerated in an attack on the city, and the remains date back nearly 3,700 years. Nearly 250 hieroglyphs were also found at the Hattusa site last year in the Yerkapo Tunnel. This tunnel was likely used for ritual worship, and the hieroglyphs are estimated to have been drawn about 3,500 years ago. Schachner, who studied both the discovery of the hieroglyphs last year and the Kalasmaic language this year, commented, "They identified a total of 249 Anatolian hieroglyphs here, but they are not entirely different. Altogether, we can categorize them into 8 groups. These characters provide us with innovations in social context. Since they were written with paint, we need to interpret them in many different ways. They think it was done quickly, and therefore we may be able to understand it quickly." What do you think about this discovery? Let me know in the comments below. Massive tomb with 2,000-year-old mummy. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the ancient Roman city of Pompeii was completely destroyed when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. This is considered one of the deadliest volcanic eruptions in Europe's history. At least 2,000 people may have lost their lives due to lava and hot gases from the eruption. Pompeii stands as a unique testament to life during the Roman Empire and was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1997. Recently, in a large ancient tomb, archaeologists discovered the best-preserved mummy ever found in Pompeii. This discovery is considered extremely important as it provides scientists with valuable insights into the cultural life of the city's inhabitants thousands of years ago. The find is particularly significant for several reasons. First, it is one of the best-preserved remains ever discovered in the ancient city. This is unusual because, during the Roman period, adult individuals were typically cremated, with only children being buried after death. Another surprising aspect for the archaeologists was that they found white hair still attached to the person's head, and part of their ear remained intact. They believe there are signs indicating that this individual was embalmed. Additionally, the characteristics of the tomb, including a sealed room, helped preserve the body in better condition. This mummy was found in a burial chamber at Porta Sarno, a part of Pompeii that is not yet open to the public. After the discovery of the mummy, researchers worked to identify the individual. Inscriptions in the tomb suggest that the person was a man named Marcus Venerius Secundio, who died at the age of 60 and was quite wealthy. He had been a slave who worked at the Temple of Venus, but struggled for his freedom and eventually attained a certain level of social and economic status. In an interview with AP News, Gabriel Zuchtriegel, the director of the Pompeii Archaeological Park, said, "Venerius seems to have worked hard to become wealthy after being freed from slavery, with the grand tomb where he was found as evidence." He added, "He didn't become super rich, but he certainly acquired significant wealth." According to tests conducted on the bones, Venerius was 60 years old when he passed away. Researchers also discovered that Marcus Venerius Secundio's name appeared in the wax tablet archives of banker Caecilius Giocondus, who had an almost perfectly preserved apartment in the Via Vesuvio area of Pompeii. The inscription on the tombstone states that after his freedom, Marcus Venerius Secundio's job in the city was to organize performances in Greek rather than in Latin, which greatly surprised researchers. Zuchtregel remarked, "Performances in Greek are evidence of the vibrant and open cultural exchange that shaped the ancient city of Pompeii." Professor Laurent Alapont from the University of Valencia said, "They still need to determine whether the embalming of the deceased was a deliberate process. The analysis of the fabric found here could provide more information, as certain types of woven fabric were commonly used for embalming. The remaining parts of the skeleton and organic materials found in the tomb have been transported to a laboratory for further study, with the hope of uncovering more fascinating mysteries surrounding this discovery." You see, the world always holds many mysteries, from ancient tombs to perfectly preserved mummies and majestic ruins. All of them create a complete picture of the ancient world. What do you think about today's discoveries? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's topic. Now, goodbye, and see you next time.